MVP Kaffeeklatsch.
So, welcome to Ignite 2019, next MVP Coffee Party recording. So, welcome dear attendees and welcome our co-host Hans Brender.
Hello.
Hello.
So my voice is not so good, therefore I have to say hello.
His voice is a little bit deeper. Oh, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. And I'm very, very welcome our two guests. It's at first Laurie Pottmeyer.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Hello. And it's Nick Smith. Say
Yes,
hello.
Nick Smith. It's a little bit easier to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's always easy.
So for you, we are sitting in a cabin with a view on one of the Ignite stages in the community area. People walking outside around our podcast. And let's start. We will talk about Microsoft Teams, or?
Sure, I think so.
Sure, but not only, or?
Not only. Sometimes about the Ignite completely, they do it different this year, and that is okay. Now we have 5 cabins. Last year we have only 4. That was 130 podcasts will be recorded here.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you look outside, we see that we have last year they have to say no, only here inside. But anyway, it's okay.
So at first we want that you introduce yourself, and in this introduction you can order a coffee, and we order the coffee, but we are sitting in the coffee.
Oh, this is
place
perfect. This is right. Yeah, this is my speed.
What we need.
I like it, yeah.
So, Laurie.
All right, my name's Laurie Pottmeyer. I am the community lead for Microsoft Teams, and it's my job to build connections between our engineering team and the community at large. So that's comprised of the Microsoft tech community and our user groups that are out there worldwide, and of course our MVPs, like the two of you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Nick Smith. I am part of the Microsoft Teams engineering team that is very specifically focused on the education vertical. And so while I sit in the engineering team, I work with our education customers worldwide to help them realize the opportunity that Teams offers, both from the same ways an enterprise would use Teams, how it can be used with students, how it can be used in an educational environment. And then I also have the unique pleasure of being able to get feedback from them and find out how we can better adapt Teams to be used in those educational environments and really advocate on their behalf.
So a lot of our attendees will be very happy. We have some teachers, for example, they're using the OneNote Classbook with Teams and try to use it in every classroom and all of this. So
fantastic.
Very welcome.
Those are the exact type of people that I want to hear from, and I want to help because our job is to make them successful.
So we have in Germany a little bit problems. My daughter is a teacher, and for the little ones, the first ones, and GDPR rules always have to be implemented. In Germany, it's a little bit of horror.
Yeah, that's right. And
How long, or how often, Laurie, were you at Ignite?
How long this time? This
No,
trip?
this year is okay. That's the first time, or
This is not my first Ignite. We had this 2 years in Florida, right? Or is this third year in Florida? I can't
3
keep
years
track.
in Orlando, yeah.
So it was third year in Orlando, and before that we had Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then before that we were doing Link Conference, right? It was.
We had Chicago.
We had
then-
Chicago.
Chicago.
See, Chicago. That was a good one. That was a really good one. That was super fun.
Actually, it's ironic that you have Laurie and I here because Laurie and I go all the way back through the Ignites and through the previous Link conferences. And we actually had quite a few sessions together at the original Link conference talking about some adoption material we had. So.
We did, yeah. We found a gap in our resources, and we built something called what did we call it?
The Pilot Success Kit, the PSK.
It was for Link Pilot Success Kit.
Good name.
And making sure that people were running pilots. So yeah, we worked together off and on in different ways, but yeah, always within the same team here.
Do you find anything different from last year?
At Ignite?
Yeah.
Well, my feet just always hurt. This is there's lots of walking here at Ignite. They've really built out the Humans of IT. They call it Humans of IT now, or they're doing a lot of the diversity and inclusion sessions, and it's really neat to see how big a part of Ignite that's become. And I had never attended any of the unconference sessions. I don't know, if those are different, if there's as many or more than in the past, but I attended a couple of those. I actually participated in one, and that was really neat. I like the engagement, the back and forth engagement, and it's so interesting to learn from other people, not just sit and listen to one person present, which, of course, is always good in its own way too, right, and getting information, but it's kind of nice as unconference sessions and hearing from other people too.
I have one.
Did you?
I'm leading one, yeah. It was breaking the silos, so talking all about the communication tools in the companies, breaking silos in communication and knowledge management. And it was very funny. It was 9 a.m. in the morning after all of the parties in the evening. And,
oh, no.
And it works. There are around 30 people, and they discussed very good, and they have good ideas. They, for example, moonshot ideas, for example, to use if the people come in every morning to their job. They arrived at the train station and go to their workplace, and to use these free time, for example, to bring them with buses from train station to their job, and make one-to-one connections. And here's Teams, how to use Teams. Let's connect via Teams, like this. And one of the companies said, yeah, it works. This was very, very interesting. So Ignite conference is more active. You have to do more, you can participate more. It's not only hearing sessions and go in, hearing sessions and go out. So
sometimes it depends. I have a first-time user, first-time Ignite user, right? And he says, I want to have all the sessions and calendar is full and so on. And then it depends if you were here next year, do it a little bit more socializing, community and all this stuff, network engagement. So that's the thing we have seen more and more.
How long do you need for preparing for Ignite? Yeah, that's one of the questions we get from our attendees. That 6 months, or they don't know it. So
I do want to respond to the first question real quick, which is I much prefer Ignite in Orlando in November rather than September, in which holy cow, it would be so hot and humid walking between buildings. So it's been very nice having a more temperate climate as we're walking in between. But going back to how long does it take to prepare for Ignite, I think the answer to that really depends on who your role is and what you're working on. Certainly in sessions in which you're talking to something that you talk to customers about all the time, preparation doesn't take as long. You still need to go through and make sure that you're prepared and everything else. I would say probably, it's a month worth of going meetings, making sure that you have all the different things that's aligned with messaging, that you're having the appropriate reviews, you have people looking at your decks. If there are actual product announcements that you're making, it's so much kind of additional into that of, what are we going to say? What are we going to demo? Just even leading up to the event of, is this still the plan? Any adjustments that we need to have? And just the sheer number of reviews and approvals that you need to get to make sure that you're accurately representing what is coming out and when it's coming out, because it's there's so many people that have great, you said it's coming out later this year. Does that mean next week, or does it mean December, or right?
That was the old problem that will be fixed.
Exactly. So there is lots of involvement, but it's because we want to make sure that we're delivering a good message, that we're delivering valuable content, and that it is a message that resonates with everyone.
Yeah, and a consistent message too. So we're all on the same page, saying the same thing, and making sure that everybody understands and we have answers. But the Ignite team itself, they probably will start planning next year's Ignite next week when they get home. It's amazing to think of the coordination. I was thinking of my little sliver of things that I have going on here, and as busy as I am, and exhausted as you can get by the end of the day. And, there's so many of us here doing that same thing. It's just it's crazy to imagine the number of hours that probably go into making this event happen. I think my preparation is a little bit different because I'm not having to prepare decks. The sessions I did were more, I did a workshop adoption, so that's just kind of pop in and share knowledge, which was great. And then I did an unconference session on using O365 tools for people with ADHD, and that was really fun, and I learned a lot from everybody there. And then, all my work is community driven, and so there's just lots of running around and coordination on booth duty and different events and opportunities to meet one another, and so.
How far in advance do you have to book the venue for the VIP MVP party?
Oh, the VIP party. Well, as soon as they announce where we will have Ignite next year, which I don't believe they have they? I don't know if it's assumed it's
so.
Here again, or as soon as we have a time and place, we'll probably book it. But they do a great job there at Bar Louie, and they'll have us back, I think.
Sometimes I think Complete Orlando is always doing this stuff and waiting also for your cause and have it. Yeah, it's difficult. And after 5-6 years here, not only Ignite and the WPC in the old days, or now they have Inspiron, and that's the same situation. And it's not so easy to find such location with so many rooms, different rooms.
Oh yeah, trying to schedule space here is insane. Just that we have some rooms booked over at one of the hotels here nearby where we're holding feedback sessions and customer meetings and things, and it's like to get one of those rooms is a big deal because space is definitely at a premium.
Yeah. And it's a long way between Rosen Center and Rosen Plaza.
And make sure you don't confuse the two.
Yeah. That's two hotels near the conference, like the Hyatt Regency, and in these hotels are a lot of meeting rooms and
at
all of this.
Opposite ends.
And I have to run it today 3 times, so it's enough.
Yeah.
For a day.
Some people wear the Fitbits or different step counters, and
16,000 steps.
Is it really? 16,000. Well, and we have a community booth here for the Microsoft Teams community events, and it's at the opposite end as the Microsoft Teams product booth. So going between those even is just it's a trek.
Yeah, that's it, right.
I think I'm going to start a Lime business and just put scooters at the next event.
Yes. Have you seen those? The scooters that you jump on? And, those are great.
But it's not allowed in the rooms.
No, I know. Well,
so
roller skates.
Yeah.
skates.
Next question. Should we start
back to one question. Yeah, for our attendees, we a little bit prepared because we ask our community send us questions. We use Microsoft Forms. That's right.
Sure.
And we said, okay, send us a question. What you want to know? What we want to discuss? Or what's the issues or challenges you have? We got a lot of. So we can't answer everyone.
That's not impossible.
But I think we choose one, and Hans, if you want, you can start.
Yeah, if I want, we can start. We have it also done with the academy. So he has once a month a podcast that say, hey, what's new in completely Office 365? So all the new things he put together, and therefore also the people had on one slide, he says, okay, you can have a question. So many questions comes from all the people around Germany. The questions are in German, but we have to say yes. Sometimes it's not so easy to say, okay, we do not want in deeply, and also for the timelines. It's not the problem if you say we cannot talk about that, because we know talk lines, sometimes the people know it's about technique, and the people know also that behind the scene it's not like the old Slack one where you have one part. Now you have to integrate for external in the past. Although for SharePoint, also for Exchange and all this stuff. And sometimes that was my bad thing, but we don't have to talk about it. That we announce something that will come, and it takes 3 months, takes 6 months, 9 months. So that's not a good thing because yes, people the engineers has to know also a little bit it's in real time, plus minus a quarter or something.
Yeah, I guess even before we get into that question, one of the things that's good to know is that in the past, when we had on-prem products, we would ship on a 3-year schedule, right? And so you would have to wait, and we would ship, and if it didn't make it, then it might be another 3 years. So it's great that we're in Office 365 where we can ship things much more frequently, but it also means that we have to make sure that we're ready to ship. And by ready to ship doesn't mean that we just have the feature available. It means that we have the support, we have the documentation, that we know that it's going to make it out to different languages, that it's going to be scalable, that we've had enough feedback. And there have been some things that have slipped, but many of those are because we learned something that we wanted to make sure that we adjusted it before we shipped it and we got it out to the public.
Yeah, quality
right?
is important.
Yeah.
So while we go out there and we try and put dates and we try and meet those dates, if we don't meet it, it's because we're making sure that it's right before we get sent out.
Okay.
So for making these process understandable for our attenders, how it works? They know, okay, there are any previews or like this, and how it works? The product will build, and then it goes in alpha, beta, preview, and then GA, or...
Yeah, so specifically for teams, we have rings of deployment. So we have rings in which it's just engineering and, hey, we're mocking this up and we're seeing how it's working. We're ready to take it beyond our specific team. And then we get feedback and telemetry, and then we take it into a larger ring of engineering and a larger ring of TAP audience. TAP stands for Technology Adoption Program. Larger out to Microsoft. And each of these progressively, we get more telemetry, we get more feedback, we're able to go and adjust and react upon that feedback. And it's not until we have that, until we have support in place and that we have plans for, we've had accessibility checks and everything else, that it makes it out to the general ring, which is ring 4, which is ironic because even though we have 4 rings, then we have ring 1.5 and 3.9 and everything else. So there are multiple places in which we get that validation before it actually makes it out. And we do have programs in which customers, we do get customer feedback before we actually ship out to everyone. So it's not just internal to Microsoft and Redmond culture, but we have people around the world testing this in many different areas to make sure that we have that scalability.
Yeah, and testing, including finding bugs, right? Sometimes we may think something's good to go, and even if, feedback is important, yes, and how does it work, but especially being able to have other people external to us who are actually finding those bugs is really important, because we don't want to send something out and have something going wrong.
During my preparation for my session tomorrow, I make a rehearsal with the Indian regional director, and during this I found a bug. It was global. So sometimes they fix it, but anyway, could be.
So I think one of the most important questions and things the user want to have is private channels.
Yes.
What? People
when
wanted
does
that?
it come? Yes.
People are excited.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation today.
Yeah.
No. It's you working at the booth. I know.
Yeah.
And we meet on the booth. So, is the customer you talk with or the end customer? Is there another feature that they want to have? For my customers, and always, if we meet people on this Ignite, it was every time private channels,
Right.
private channels, some calling features, but private channels is one of these big things. Like,
I think
Well, and I would say, as we were just talking about products and timelines and when we want to get out and everything else, private channels is one of those ones that we wanted to have out before. And we had actually sent out announcements that it was coming out, and we ran into some stuff that we wanted to make sure that we had it right before it went out. We wanted to make sure that we lived up to our promises of trust in certain areas, and so it did delay us a little bit as we resolved a couple of things. But the good news is that here at Ignite we are able to say that it is rolling out this week. and it will be available. In fact,
it is available.
many people were coming up to the booth and saying, "Hey, I see the admin control for this. When am I going to get it in my tenant?" And I have seen on Twitter that it is showing up in people's tenants as we speak.
So, private channels. A little bit introduction for you. The people can create a sharing channel or a normal channel, and they can create a private channel. So the private channel is?
Yeah, so a private channel is a space that you can have for a subset of your overall team members to collaborate. And what it allows you to do is to make sure that you can have a security boundary on the conversations that happen, the files that are shared within that channel, and also the apps that are brought into it. So a very good example of how this is used is, let's say I have a departmental-based team that has all the different people who are in the team, but there may need to be a place where managers can have a conversation about managerial stuff, leadership type stuff, planning pre-announcements, where they can use a private channel and understand that that other members of the team won't even know that channel exists. They won't have access to any of that space, so that they can talk in that manner. It doesn't always have to be a sensitive manner, right? But it allows you to really scope who is allowed into that area of conversation.
Can we convert it from a private channel to a normal channel?
Unfortunately, no. You have to declare it as a private channel when you create it. And then I also saw some feedback earlier today of someone wanted to take a private channel and make it a regular channel. Unfortunately, that's not a capability right now.
Yeah, one of the ways that I used it recently, while it was still in preview, was I had the airlift going on for Microsoft Teams, and so within the airlift team that we had set up, we had multiple channels for various things. We did it in 2 cities, so each city had their own area. We had an area for a schedule and a fun stuff channel, but I created a private channel for speakers. And that allowed us to have everybody going to the airlift team for everything, so that we didn't have another team set up somewhere, or some random airlift channel in another team somewhere with all the speakers. I wanted everybody to continue going to the airlift team, but have a place where the speakers could put their decks in advance and communicate with one another. We could make sure they all knew what was going on, and that was very useful in that case.
It looks like sometimes it's like a security function without technical. It's easy.
Yeah, we got the question, this surrounding out of the edu environment. One of the teachers I talked with, and they told me, okay, it could be a good solution for you have a team for the class with different channels, and in these private channels the teachers can talk to each other, and the students don't see what they talk or what they said. Okay, here's the material, and also. What do you think? Do you have questions or discussions about it in schools?
We do see that. Actually, the use case that I see more often come up within schools, and specifically within the classroom, is if I have a class of, let's say, 30 people, and I have group projects of 3 to 4 people, and I want them to be able to work in that project, but I don't want them to have visibility of what's happening between the other groups as they're working. Rather than going and create another space, you can create a channel for each of those teams, bring the appropriate members of them into that, and then they have that collaboration space where they can work and do it, and the teacher can still be a member of that, and they can see what's happening across all the other teams, but yet students don't get to see what other students are doing in the same project.
Yeah, so because it is your files also, then they can upload their documents and their PowerPoints or their whatever it is that they're working on together too. That's cool.
Yeah, we have the same discussion with all of the guys out of the business. Said okay, for M&A process, for legal things, for I'm the manager, and with my vice manager and vice president, we can talk in these private channels so much. So often we have discussion, okay, create a private channel, create a new team, or using an external Yammer network group or whatever, community, sorry, we call it community today. and all of these things. That's I think we will see what happened. If we have 100 private channels in one team next time because they want to create silos, and that's one of these things.
Yeah, I caution people against creating those silos. There are times in which you do want to have that private space, like your scenario with speakers. But I caution people against saying, hey, I'm going to have a private channel where just my team is talking about these other things, because of the value of working out in the open, of maybe needing to reach across channels but still within the same team to engage someone in a conversation or get their opinion. And so I think that, as everything, there's a balance between when you want to have it. And certainly there is quite a bit of value of that working out in the open and engaging other work streams in what you're discussing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new way of working out loud in Microsoft Teams. And I think for some people that are new to Teams, it's a little bit scary. You're putting yourself out there. It's like you're inviting everybody to your meeting, in a sense. But, I'll tell you, for me personally, it's just been a huge benefit for me working. I work from home. Nick works from home. And so,
Me too.
And so many people are now, but when you don't go into an office every day and you're not part of those hallway conversations and just kind of hearing what people are up to, that just naturally happens when you're in a shared workspace. It's nice to be able to have that online shared workspace where you can see those conversations, and it gives you a lot more context about things that you're working on, even if it's not something you directly have action about or anything. You can see what's going on with different teams, and that's been a tremendous value for me, making connections with people, finding out who's doing what. It's great.
That's brings us to another question in combination to these. We have a question from one of our users, Oliver. Say hello. Hello, Oliver. They ask us, okay, when I have to use a channel or a one-to-one chat or a group chat, or that's often I said, okay, how to start. And in my opinion, we start often with a group chat or with a chat. And then we switch to a team, or we want to convert it to a team, or like this. So, you know what I mean?
I mean, as I'm working with customers, there's lots of customers at different stages in their team's maturity. And one of the first questions you always get is, okay, when do I use private chat and group chat? When do I create a team? When do I create a channel? And the way that I often explain it is that I apologize for the very dictionary definition of this, but I like to think of a team as a collection of people working to achieve a shared goal. Okay, so that shared goal could be education within a classroom. It could be a committee that is working on something. It could be a department. It could be something that spans departments. But essentially, it is the collection of people that you want to have in order to achieve some sort of goal. Some of these will be teams that persist for a long time, especially if they're departmental based. Some may spin up for the purpose of a project and then go through the life cycle and end. So that helps me to decide what the context of how I want to have a team for. But then when I think about channels within a team, I think about what are the different topics of frequent conversation or different work streams, right? Because I don't want to spin up too many channels where if it's, I want to ask people, what are you going to have lunch for Tuesday? And that's a thread, right? But if I have a work stream that maybe here's the marketing component, or here's the technical component, or here's the budget component, then I know that that's a place where I can go and I can find the conversations or files there. And it allows me to very contextualize, and it also allows me as the user to subscribe and say, I want to be notified about what happens in these things, but I don't necessarily need to be notified or see that there's activity happening in these other channels that I'm not necessarily concerned about as much.
Naming conventions are always a thing we have in Germany, same discussion.
In connection to this, we have two other questions. I think we start with the first one. We talked about communication, about channels, one-to-one chats and all of this, and one of our attendees asked, okay, how long we will have Outlook and emails. So I think that's one of the questions you discussed also with your customer, with all of the customers, with the edu team. We discussed it in the MVP channel. Okay, it's better to send me chat voice via Teams than an email. And at first I'm involving in my daily work, so I don't look at the Outlook at first. So when I wake up in the morning, I have a look in Teams. So more and more people said, okay, is it the world is switching to a chat-based world? And there are also some people that said I'm a little bit afraid because chat is very fast and we can't find the information we typed yesterday. Yeah, what do you think? Or yeah, it's a difficult question.
I'm fine with taking that. I mean, the nature of work is changing.
Yeah.
Right? And so part of the reason why we have this is because as people are entering the workforce, this is the way that they've chosen that they want to communicate. Some people don't want to use email at all.
Yeah.
But, and so as people go through, yes, I check Teams, but because I coordinate with all my people within Teams. With all of my colleagues. But that doesn't mean that I've stopped using email or that I will ever stop using email, because I still have people outside my organization or people who are doing that, or people who are sending me registrations for Ignite. Email is not going to go away. Outlook's not going to go away. There are the concepts of your active collaboration, your inner loop, your outer loop, and how you're able to converse across organizational and other boundaries. So while you may see that you prefer to go to one for your first communications, there are still going to be reasons for that other modality, and email is going to persist. Yeah.
But one of the things that we announced at Ignite is the integration with Outlook. So.
Right. We're bringing the two together. That makes it easier to share information.
You're in your workspace. Your workspace is Teams in this case, and it's nice to have those other applications brought in, and that goes for, of course, Outlook being announced, but there's so many applications that you can bring in, and at Microsoft we've got some really good ways of incorporating everything into the Teams client. There's even apps for finding the menu of the cafeteria when you're on campus, or finding a shuttle to get you from building to building. Those things that you used to have to do, going to an external tool like an order site or approving POs. All of those things now can be implemented, and apps and bots can be built to have all of that work done in your workspace in Teams, which is really cool.
Oh, we have the icebreaker.
We have the icebreaker app. Yeah, we're using that.
So there is a question from Lars Küster, who spoke integration. What about the integration of Kaisala?
What about it? Do you use Kaisala, Nick?
I have installed it at one point. I haven't used it that much.
I actually use it. There's some people that use it on a regular basis, and you've got WeChat, Kaisala, and there's different products that are doing that kind of more just chat based. I truly use it just for chat with just a handful of people, or if we're at an event like MVP Summit. Sometimes I get invites to join a Kaisala chat, and that's fun. The difference I see there with Teams is it can be a lot of noise. It's just a massive chat. Whereas it's like if you were to open a group chat, same thing in Teams, it would just be a lot of noise if you had 100 people in it, so kind of wading through that. The benefit of Teams is, of course, if you have 100 people in a team, then you can, fine-tune those conversations and have more organized communication as opposed to just one humongous chat. But I know that, there's been requests to, we need Kaisala and team integration, and I know that that's something that people are looking for, but
we have to wait.
Yeah, that's right. One question we got 2 or 3 times is, That's also one of these things we have when we are working on an airplane and have no internet connection, for example. Like this is
Not always.
It's one of the user voice requested with offline work with Microsoft Teams. I think that's one of the things you often heard, and you have to say, okay, if I open my app, for example, on this conference, not every time we have very good internet. We see it in front of this podcast. We are searching for a website and the internet connection was away. So we have customers that okay, especially also in Germany and Europe, we don't have internet connection and very well internet connection everywhere. The wish is with offline work, or what can we do today, or do you have these challenges too?
Yeah, I mean, we do have the challenges. It's requests that we've heard. I mean, as you yourself said that there's a lot out there on user voice. I would say that there are certain challenges, but we have some very, very smart engineers within Microsoft who are looking into what can be done in those scenarios.
Yeah, that's something that I think so many of us who travel, and you're right, with the internet connection, we see that, but it's definitely something that we hear a lot and that we're tracking.
The first hint is, for example, use the OneDrive client with the connected SharePoint site. So why not? You have the documents, okay, you have the chats and all of this, but you have the Shift app and all of this. So we'll see what happened, huh?
Yeah, we will see what happened. Yeah, it's a good thing.
That's actually a really good segue into making sure that everybody knows where we do capture feedback. And I don't know if that's something that everybody knows, but we have a tool called User Voice, which is where we capture all of the product feedback from everybody globally. That's our public way to capture feedback. And so if you do have an idea of something or a scenario you're trying to meet, or want to see what other people are asking for and add your vote to that, or add your scenario to that ask, it's definitely something that we want to hear about. We meet with our engineering teams, all the feature teams, on a monthly basis, and help them to triage that feedback and prioritize it, and that's how they make decisions on what they're working on next. And so
private channel was one of
private
these
channels was number one user
yeah.
voice for so long. So we nixed that one and on to the next. But it is aka.ms/teams feedback. So that's where you go to see what's out there and see what you want to add. We do listen to it. So
another question from we have no name. Okay, does we have team integration of Outlook Web Access in form of calendar? On calendar, we know we have a little bit problem where we are in Nantes and want to have with a different time zone for here. This event. That was a little bit critical. In Outlook, you have 3 possible
different time zones.
Different time zones. There is a possible to do that. So now we were outside and all this, we have problems to have to schedule this event. You remember that? That is also a question. Therefore, people also say, hey, what we have in Outlook Web Access or in Outlook about calendaring, are there any investments we will have in the future?
I'm just going to be honest. I didn't even know that in Outlook you could have the 3 time zones listed there on the left-hand side until this week. So that was very exciting that I learned that about.
So, for example, we built a Power App with it. we created an application for calendar, for example, and we have a big calendar change in the last 2 weeks in Teams.
Yes,
I think
that was
2
a big
weeks
problem.
ago, there was a big change of calendar view, and it's more like the Outlook calendar, and for different time zones.
The problem was also that we are in the summertime, and then we have in Germany have earlier winter time, and you have it here on the weekend. So
certainly. I used to lead a international team, in which when Austria would change their time zone before we did, and then Denmark was behind, there would always be like 2 periods of a month in which no one was sure exactly what time our team meeting was because it was different.
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks we had a little bit of that.
Cool. Can we say that you have a favorite announcement of Microsoft Teams, or is it all?
Well, I have my favorite.
Yeah.
I think, private channels, so we don't have to,
Yeah.
track that one anymore is great. But my actual favorite feature is the multi-window, right? The ability to pop things out. That's so useful because when you're in a meeting now, you can, pop out a chat and have that going on along the side and still, pay attention to your meeting or be in the meeting full screen, see the video full screen. That's probably the most useful thing for me that I've been most excited about.
So you can, for example, as an example, we chat together, and you can put this chat window out of Teams and put it, for example, on the second screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
I would say the meeting capability of that is popping out the meeting.
Yeah.
I use quite a bit. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use two of them.
Okay.
Because this is, I'm representing an EDU audience here. One is we've had lots of EDU customers who've been asking for a Linux client.
Yeah.
Computer science.
Yeah.
In education, lots of people are using Linux, and so lots of people very, very excited about that. The second one is that, especially as we work with lots of customers who need to assign different sets of policies to student users than they would faculty and staff, is that we also announced that we're going to have the ability to assign policies via group membership, which relieves a lot of the stress that's on IT admins today of making sure that students get the right policies and faculty and staff get different policies. So that's going to be a huge one for education customers, and one that I know a lot of them have been asking for quite a while. So I'm excited to go and tour that and show people how to configure it.
I have one question. I'm also one of the Ubuntu guys, and I love the feature. For example, in Hyper-V, you can go fast creating a virtual machine, and you have Ubuntu in 20 minutes or 10 minutes. Contact to your bandwidth, but in 10 to 20 minutes. So I don't know exactly. Can we talk about the Linux client? There's a Linux client for every distribution. I don't know. But it's only announced. There's a Linux client, a native Linux client. It's
right.
Not,
so you're not having to go and launch the Chrome browser and then bring it up. A lot of feedback we got from there was that they wanted to make sure that they always had the client running, that they were getting the pop-ups. And while we brought a lot of new capabilities into Chrome from a video and audio perspective, they wanted to make sure that they had that first-class experience. I know that we've developed packages that can be deployed in DB or RPM formats. I'm not familiar on all the different flavors of Linux that we've tested on. So I'm sure that as that releases and as it goes into preview, we'll have a lot more documentation in terms of where it's.
But the important thing is that we get one. So
yes.
For example, for all of the development department, they're using Ubuntu, for example. They are so... at first they love the sharing screen features. You added some months before into the Chrome browser for Linux, and now they get a client that they can work. So it's a good story. For example, of the competitor with Slack.
Yes.
That's what it is. I work for a customer. They are using Teams for all of the department instead of the development department because there's no Linux client. Now they can switch and say, okay.
You know, you reminded me of a story that I heard this week that I just loved. And that is, we were talking with a customer that we were asking them about how they're doing on their Teams journey, where they're seeing it. And believe it or not, they said that their departments with high numbers of Mac users have been the ones who have been driving Teams usage. Because they went out and they found out that the Teams client was the same as what it was on the others, and it was what they've been asking for so long, that those users were going around telling everyone else to use Teams, and they basically converted their departments into Teams departments because of the quality of the Teams client on Mac, and so hopefully something similar happens here with Linux.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I have a question that we can answer, or you can answer. We don't have the specialists here. Will we have a sync button directly in Teams that we not have to go
Sync what?
Sync.
My face, my...
No, for data.
For data, for
Yeah.
SharePoint or what?
Yes. We have it.
You have it all?
No, sometimes it's not in all tenants there, but we will have it.
Here,
That means
I see the
you-
announcement.
So
this week,
I believe that was an announcement that was made last week with
Yeah.
SharePoint.
Yeah.
So it may have gotten kind of lost in all the news that we made
Yeah,
at
a
Ignite.
lot of-
But yeah, there are additional SharePoint type capabilities coming into the Teams client, and one of those is that you can sync directly from Teams.
That was this question. Then we have one that's easy, a little bit technical. Do we got an API for presence and call events?
Good question.
That is a
We can
good
hear
question.
that this week.
Next question.
I haven't been all that connected to the app dev.
I believe
at
the
that
answer
level.
is no to that question, but as
Okay.
far as when, we don't have the answer.
So the question comes from Oliver Radl, a friend of mine. But the issue is that you have to see. My wife comes in the corner and talk. And if I have a light that's connected with Skype for Business, then you see it's red. And she knows red is not to talk to me. I listen, because sometimes you listen only and do not have to talk and all this stuff. So at the end, in the evening, in our time, that's your morning time, and have a webcast or something else. So she also comes and look for this light. And therefore you need an API sometimes.
Yeah, that's been
But
a
advantage,
big ask.
Yeah. And a typical theoretical thing, do we will have a life cycle management for Teams?
That's a very open-ended
Yeah.
question.
I know, what
that-
type of
That's a
life cycle
huge question,
management?
or?
It sounds like you have your topic for the next
Yeah, for the next
coffee
one.
clutch.
Definitely,
There's one thing that I want to
Yeah.
make sure that we share, because this was also announced recently.
Yeah.
And because I realized that not everyone has access to the Office 365 Admin Center, is that we do have the ability for admins to configure expiration policies on Teams.
Yeah.
That before would define a time period, and as you reach the end of that time period, team owners would be prompted with a, would you like to renew the team? They would renew, it would restart that clock. But it would always, as you got down to that clock, it would ask them. And so one of the things that we have added in that is now available is that as we get closer to that time period, if we see activity in the team, we don't even prompt the team owner, we just automatically renew it.
Which is so nice, because people get confused sometimes and they see that, like, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do? So it's
Right. So
removes
now
that.
when people are getting that, do you still want this team? It's because we haven't detected activity and it's hit that time period. So.
That's all investments in life cycle. It's the same with the archiving. Last year, I think you added to Microsoft Teams, and also, we talked about retention policies for chat. There was also an announcement. I think yesterday I heard it and I read it. And we talked about it, Nick, on at a booth, that you can use the retention policies for 1 day.
Yes.
So you can say, okay, retention for 1 day, and away.
You would think such a simple change, but that took a lot of work. So we've had lots of people ask about that, and we're glad that we're able to deliver on that for people.
Yeah. So we can't talk about all of the announcements for Microsoft Teams. It's a bunch of announcements. So I think we talked about the top 5 or top six. That's also the top 6 for our communities. For me, you don't order the coffee before, so
we forgot our coffee. I'm still wondering when that's coming. I did want to say too that the blog is located in our tech community, so that's ak.ms/Teams community, and that's where all of our blogs are. So any of the big announcements and the Ignite, of course, the Ignite announcements and what's coming, but also if anybody missed any of the sessions, if you're not, if your listeners are not here and want to listen in, if people were here and want to see what they missed, all the sessions were recorded, but then we also have had MVPs blogging throughout the week, and so that's kind of what we call cliff notes, or the summaries of of those sessions are there, so they can definitely view that in the event blog within that community.
You remember me, I have to write one in German
Yeah.
or two or
Yeah.
three.
Yeah. Hey.
But this is great. So we have blog posts from different MVPs with different views on the sessions and in different languages. It was very fun. I talked to someone from China and said, okay, we read the blog post in their natural language and a different view of the same session I'm attend, and it was a great discussion to see how different cultures meet here at Ignite and how different languages, and often you need someone right beside you in the sessions. Like, oh, great, you working, for example, for Fujitsu in Japan, for Siemens in Russia, and so if you see, we are a big community here, or it's feels like a community, or
and that's really the intent of why we have the MVPs writing those blogs too, because Microsoft, we can sure summarize our sessions, no problem, but that's still coming from our voice. And what's really important is that the community is hearing from the community too, and it's a good way for you to share not only in your native language, but also for you to share from your point of view, from a customer, from a user, from somebody that doesn't work at Microsoft building the product, right? And so it's been really useful, I think, for people to get that perspective as well.
So after the long week, what do you do after this week? Fly to Paris, or you have holiday for some days for your feet, relaxing?
I'm currently looking at my inbox on my Teams unread count. And the amount of things that I have due tomorrow. So I'm going to be going back, trying to catch up on that. Maybe make it to the attendee party, hoping to. But I've also chosen to take a very early flight so I can be back in my office and probably have a full day at home working tomorrow.
So you work more.
Yes.
No relaxed time.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting home and seeing the family.
Okay. That's right.
When you come to these conferences, often you have to leave a day early and you come back a day later, and that's the thing I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, and attendee party is a good point. Where's the attendee party?
More walking.
more walking. Yeah, but where? We have a lot of parks here. And
that's it. Universal Studios.
Ooh, so
Universal Studios. Yeah.
It looks like we have the Ignite attendees, and they go to Universal Studios, and they have the two parks with Harry Potter and all of this for their own.
Yes.
It's completely reserved for only attendees from Ignite.
Wow.
In fact, you have to use your badge to get in.
The rows are not so long.
But how many people are at Ignite? There's
30,000.
30,000 people. So, 30,000 people at Universal Studios is significant, but it's really neat. They have street performers, and, at nighttime, it's really fun.
And I heard you can win some fast passes at some Microsoft booths. So
I know. I heard something about a gold star or something like that. You get 2 hours
it was at
early?
the Microsoft 65 booth I worked, and they get gold stars, and with these gold stars, you got 3 fast pass rides. But I was there last year. It was a fast pass. You only go to the roller coaster, go in, go out, and I wait 5 minutes or like this. So
I actually came down this summer with my family and went to Universal Studios, and I paid for the fast pass, so I know the value.
Okay.
Okay, he's driving home. And you?
I'm excited to get home too. I just, in addition to my 2 kids, whom I love dearly and miss tremendously, I also just got a puppy. So, I'm excited to see that little fur ball and just get home and have some time to relax. After these big events, I always get a massage because, standing a lot and your whole body's just kind of tweaked, I guess, from walking and standing. So, that's my plan, is to get a massage.
You?
I have 3 days for relaxing here in Orlando, and then back. But I get customer calls that they come on Monday.
Well, you can do it
we
on
pay your flight, and you come on Monday. And said, no, I need 3 days relaxing, and
Good.
then back to work, and then we have November. end of November, then we have Christmas time.
Yes.
It is coming up.
So it's coming up. I
More
hope you have
stuff.
all of your gifts.
Ignite is
If not, we have some.
We will
some
buy them at Disney
Team
tonight,
socks
huh?
or SharePoint socks.
so. I have to go now. You know,
I do.
Ignite is Ignite in Orlando, but I have only 2 times or 2 days for relaxing or chat lagging, and then I have to go to the next Ignite.
It's Ignite the Tour.
On tour,
Oh,
yeah.
the
We've got
tour.
Paris. Ignite
So
the Tour is
every time you do
kicking
Paris,
off
then-
in 31 cities this year, which
Yes.
is huge, yeah.
And it starts next
Absolutely.
week.
Yeah, start next week.
But then I'll see you again in Paris in only a couple more weeks
Yeah,
after that.
there's a European SharePoint conference.
No, our Modern Workplace.
Modern Workplace, yeah,
You
that's
can't
okay.
keep track. You've got so much going on.
Yeah,
So a lot of
so many
conferences.
conferences.
Well, I know I get home tomorrow, and then I have to fly out Tuesday back to New York City for a EDU summit. So I think it's the life we all live.
Yeah. That's
It's
what we
always.
choose and what we love. Oh, so,
Hey,
Yeah,
sharing our
exactly.
knowledge, right?
so there's a waiter and we want to pay, but okay.
We haven't
That's
ordered
everywhere.
something.
We
That is
don't have.
okay.
Oh no, we wait and wait and wait and
Yeah,
no one.
no
comes.
one at all.
So, for me, thank you very, very much. I was flattered and very honored that you are here.
Well, thank you for having us.
And talking about different challenges, questions, and what the community and audience outside of this room are asking for. And in this room we don't know if it's dark outside, if it's rain.
It's like being in Vegas.
It's like being in Vegas. Yeah, we will see. So thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Laurie, for all of your time and that you've been here.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much
you,
for
Hans.
having us.
Hans.
I have to say, I do it in German.
Yeah.
Dankeschön für die vielen Antworten. Thank you for all the answers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
have
you.
a safe trip home.
You
You too.